There is a kind of tiredness that doesn't feel like tiredness at first. It feels like impatience, like everyone around you is moving too slowly, asking too much, taking up space you don't have. You are short with people you love. You lie awake not because you can't sleep, but because something is running underneath everything and you can't find a switch. And then one day, you stop and look at yourself and don't quite recognize what you see. Not dramatically, just quietly. A moment of, who is this person? Because the person I know doesn't feel like this. The person I know has more in the tank than this. That was the beginning of something I didn't have a name for yet. And the beginning of understanding something I should have seen much earlier. Always keeping your eyes on the horizon makes you lose your footing. I've spent a lot of my life chasing the next thing. Not out of greed, just wired that way, or so I told myself. Always something ahead worth moving toward. The problem with always moving towards something is that you stop paying attention to where you actually are. Ambition is a quiet drain. It doesn't announce itself, it just runs in the background like a program you can't close, using up just enough energy that you don't notice how much is gone until you reach for something and find the tank empty. And the thing about running toward the horizon is that the body keeps score even when the mind doesn't. The patience runs out before you understand why. The people closest to you feel it before you do. The work that used to come easily starts to feel like pushing something uphill. I've seen what it is to fall. And what I found when I stopped wasn't a lesson, not a revelation, just stillness. And in the stillness, for the first time in a long time, I could hear what I had been drowning out. The horizon is a useful thing when you are starting out. It gives you direction. It pulls you forward when the ground is uncertain. But there is a point where it stops being a direction and becomes a kind of blindness, where wanting what is next makes it impossible to be in what is now, where the life you are actually living becomes something you keep meaning to get to. I had to learn, slowly and with some resistance, to look down at what was already there, at who was already there. Ambition had told me that contentment was the enemy, that if I was satisfied, I had stopped growing. But contentment is not the same as stopping. It is the ability to be present in the life you have built while you are still building it. And I had never quite learned how to do that. The slow rebuild taught me something I couldn't have learned any other way. That energy is not infinite. That saying yes to everything is not ambition, it's just poor accounting. That the guilt you feel when you say no is not a signal that you are lazy. It is the old voice, the one that was already somewhere else. What I have more clearly now is a sense of what actually matters to me. Not in the abstract, in the specific daily lived sense. The people I love, my health, the creative work that feels alive when I do it, the actual work that makes the rest possible, in that order. Not because it sounds right, because falling showed me what I reached for when the rest of it stopped working. And I have learned to say yes first to what gives me energy and no to what takes it. That sounds simple, but it's not simple. There is a real guilt in it, but I have come to think the guilt is just the horizon talking, telling me I should be further along, asking me what I have to show for the morning. If you are carrying a tiredness that doesn't lift, I am not going to tell you I have the answer. I am still in the middle of my own version of this. But I know that the moment I stopped looking at the horizon long enough to look at what was right in front of me, I found something I had been walking past for years. Finally, I found you. Though I didn't know I was searching. I thought I was moving forward. I was just moving. Finally, I found you in the space between steps, in a breath that fell back into my body. You came quietly, like a hand resting there, not holding. Finally, I found you, not somewhere ahead, but here. In the weight of my feet on the ground, in staying. Finally, I found you. It had been enough for a long time. I just couldn't see it from so far away.